We begin with the latest headlines. The second day of the third Summit of Democracy, hosted by South Korea, opened on Tuesday with a civil society and youth event. A North Korean defector called for more global attention on the North's human rights situation during the opening ceremony. President Yoon Suk-yeol on Tuesday reaffirmed his determination to push ahead with medical reform, calling it the demand of the people and a task for the good of the public. Oil prices climbed about 2% to a 4-month high on Monday on lower crude exports from Iraq and Saudi Arabia, as well as signs of stronger demand and economic growth in China and the U.S. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose 2.1% to nearly $83. We have some major issues to delve in through this Tuesday, and we're going to do that with our reporters Yoon Hae-jung and Yoon Se-young in the studio, the Yoon sisters. Hello.
Good evening.
Happy to see you. All right, so let's get started. So on Monday, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with President Yoon Suk-yeol on the sidelines of the third Summit for Democracy, hosted by South Korea this week. As I mentioned before, today is the second day of the summit. And upon the two leaders' encounter, Secretary of State Antony Blinken reaffirmed that the United States will always work with South Korea to advance democracy. So Hae-jung, start us off with the latest updates on the diplomatic front. That they are the reason for why North Korea is conducting these missile tests. So there seems to be a harsher tone definitely regarding South Korea in the recent past. Now, while active talks are taking place for democracy, tensions on the Korean peninsula actually are showing no signs of easing, as North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has guided firing drills involving super-large multiple rocket launchers and called for perfecting readiness to collapse the capital of the enemy, which would be probably the capital Seoul. So Hae-jung, what do we know so far? Well, it's great that we're going to have more designated facilities and hospitals for those veterans, but that will also mean that we will need more medical staff for that.
Exactly.
And we are continuing to talk about the medical strike issue. As the doctors' strike enters its fourth week, fatigue among the public is mounting. President Yoon Suk-yeol criticized the situation this Tuesday, stating the medical license granted to save lives should not be wielded as a means to threaten and unsettle the public. Se-young, please tell us more on what he had to say.
Sure.
You know, when you mentioned the discount, I was going to say, okay, everyone, now is the time to get those apples and pears.
Not just yet.
Right. And then you mentioned the comparison to last year. And I think, wow, I might go for frozen fruits. And that's actually what many people are doing these days, right?